Alright, so this tutorial is to help you understand how to mix colors on a color wheel and also make a variety of values. So some of it's a review from 7th grade and some of it will be a little more complex. So you're going to need 3 sheets while you do these activities, and it'll probably take 2 whole class periods. You need the one that says color wheel using acrylic paint, the one that says color schemes with definitions, and then the last one, value scales. There's a couple mistakes that I want to bring to your attention. I'm going to change it up on the bottom. So what I want is the outer ring. So the outer, I want it to be the hue. Then you can go tint for the second. Third is tone, and then the inner one will be the shade. So again, disregard what I did or what I typed up. The next thing that you need to do is label your color wheels so that you don't get your colors mixed up. So the top one at the 12 o'clock position would be yellow, which is a primary. Then you go to tertiary, which is yellow-orange. Orange is a secondary. Then you go to another tertiary because secondaries are trapped between tertiaries. So we have red-orange, red, red-violet, violet, blue-violet, blue, blue-green, and green, and then yellow-green. So this one's ready to start painting. Before you actually paint your schemes over here, I would definitely put your definitions in there first. Alright, so with your brushes, you have brand new brushes, most of you. Take care of them. So a couple rules: don't leave your brushes sitting in the water ever. You should always be rinsing them out and have paper towel or a piece of paper, and then you can let it sit out. It'll ruin the bristles, and I've spent a lot of money getting you all your own sets. And then another thing is, once you've washed it out for the day, make sure that you make the bristles nice so they don't start getting damaged. And if you have damaged brushes when you come back, you are going to have to buy the set. So take care of them. Alright, so I'm ready to start, and I picked red in my demonstration to begin with. I'm going to go fast. Try to be neat. And the outer ring is going to be the hue, which is a color you have not altered. Don't use too much water, because then it's going to look like watercolor, and that'll be another unit of study that we'll have in the future. So again, it should be nice and rich and vivid. Okay. The second ring is the tint. So remember in middle school, I told you to, when you mix colors, you always mix the darker to the light. We have to be super conservative with all that paint we got. I gave you a lot of paint, and it should last you for at least 3 projects, if not more. But if you're going to be mixing colors and you disregard the rule about dark to light, and you put the light to the dark, it's going to take more and more and more paint to get the value or the color that you want. And when you're out of paint, you're going to be sort of out of luck, unless there's certain situations that I should be aware of. But again, and then the next thing I want to bring to your attention is that you got a lot of popsicle sticks. Scoop the color out onto scratch paper for these studies, and then don't dip your brushes or dirty brushes back in another color, because you're going to ruin the color for future projects. Disregard the egg cartons. That's for your first monochromatic study. Alright, so because of the rule of dark to light, I already have dark in my brush, so I'm going to scoop out a little white on paper, and this is just like we did in 7th grade, if you had me. So I'm going to take this red, the dark color, and I'm going to add it to the white. So I want your tints to stand out from your hue. So that's a decent tint. Eventually you'll get tints that go almost to white, and that'll be another assignment. So the second ring, I said tint. satisfying doing a color wheel sometimes. I've done hundreds of them in my career, and each time I still find it relaxing. All right, so the next ring, the third one, is the tone. Tone is gray to a color. Because white is in my brush, I don't have to wash it out because white and black make gray. So I've already got the red in my brush and the white. So you can see, like, you won't really need that much paint. So I have to dip out some black. And then I just take a freckle of black because we don't want it to be a shade. And remember, tones look strange sometimes. I love tones, but it's going to look washed out a little bit, or toned. So it should be darker than your tint. And in this case, we can understand that red, toned, can sometimes look purple. So if you choose purple to be in your monochromatic study, that's one way to make it. You don't have to mix red and blue necessarily. And you're going to notice that black and yellows, sometimes they make different types of greens. So this color wheel is a good activity to realize the potential of your paint. The last one, I do have to wash my brush out because it only needs black. And if I have any bit of white in my brush, it's a tone. So now I'm just going to take the red, put it over, and then a freckle of black. And you just put enough paint in there to get it dark. Your shades, I want them to look almost black from afar, but still be obvious that it's got color in it. Okay. And that's a pretty good shade. And then there's your last one. I could go darker if I wanted. Okay. As you're painting, I would skip pies. Well, you know, I call this a section of a pie. Skip it until it's dry. Acrylic does dry pretty fast, but okay. So that's pretty much it for the wheel. The next part of your activity, and you could be going back and forth, back and forth. So in reality, when I had my brush just full of red, I could have just went over here right away. So I'm going to get a little swatch of red, and you want, after you have your definitions, you'll know which colors go into each section. This is just another strategy to help you memorize your art terms. So red is a primary color. It also can fall into monochromatic possibly. Analogous, red could be analogous, and you'll look in your vocabulary. It is related to something next to it on the color wheel, so I could go red, red, orange, and orange. Things like that. Complementary, there's 3 sets, so I might as well put 1 swatch of red there. Split complementary, you can skip that category as long as you know what it's like. You can skip that one. And red is warm. So you can see I got all my swatches in the right definition. Okay. This last activity, I would save it until you finish the first 2 worksheets, but I'm going to demonstrate it now. So in the middle, in this case, and you have handouts that illustrate it, the middle of this column is going to be the hue. Okay? And I don't care what order you go. I'm just going to do red, orange, yellow, green, blue. And I think one's going to have to be, we'll just start with those. Okay? So then as I go this way, this will be my dark tint, and then they gradually get light. So dark to light, I'm going to take some of that paint out of my brush. I'm going to pull over some pink. And I have to remind myself that this has to be dark. Still light, but it's going to be darker of the lights. So there's a pretty dark tint. And then the next one, because I already have pink in my brush, I can just add more white. So there's no need to be mixing the colors separate. You just keep going back to the white. So now I'm going to make another value of white, or pink. When I grade these, and it's just a small assessment, it's not like a project. Now see, this looks too similar, so I'm going to add more white. when I grade these, I'm going to give it the squint test, which means I'll look at it squinting, and if the transition is nice from dark to light or light to dark, the better your score. Okay, and then the last one, be a lot of white. So the first one actually that's going over to the right is super light. In fact, I can go even lighter than that. You can actually mix your colors right on the value if you want it, or the worksheet. Again, I'm not going to freak out if you're out of the lines a little bit, but it is good practice to try to be clean. Okay. And the demonstration's almost over, so now I'm going to go over and I'm going to start adding little bits of black. There's no tones in this activity. So I'm going to get some fresh red out. And get some fresh black out. So a freckle, when I have freckle, is like very, very little. And you mix it off to part of it. Go slow, because you don't want to go too dark right away. So I would say that's a pretty good shade of red. And then like we did with the white, you just keep adding more and more of the color that you're altering your hue with. So I'm going to add a little more black to it. And then the last one is going to be lots of black in it. Now, to me, that doesn't stand out enough, so I have to go back and adjust it. So a little bit putsy work, but it is very, very good practice for your first assignment. Project, I mean. Okay. I got out of the line, so the next section I'll clean it up. So that is what you need to do, and you've got 2 class periods for this, which is more than enough time. Actually, yeah, so you'll start off with the wheel, take a picture of it when you're done, and I'll tell you how to submit it. Then you finish this, and I'll be working on the wheel and this at the same time. And then when you're done with these 2, whenever you're ready, you can move on to the last color study. Okie dokie.